he is the main boss at the football club. He will make that decision regardless of whatever is beneath him. So what happens next? What are the options? Well, you've got, of course, the temptation might be there to hand Ryan Mason the reins again until the end of the campaign. You know, he did win four of his 6 Premier League games when he stepped in last time. He was only a 29-year-old coach then as well. It, of course, would give the board a little bit of breathing space to look at the full array of managerial options come the summer. But it's a gamble for the short term, putting a very young coach in there at a stage when the top 4 could kind of go either way. And, you know, we know the Champions League and I guess the financial side of it, as well as the other aspects to it, and maybe keeping certain players next season. So it could be a gamble. And also, it could be a gamble for Mason as well, because there's a lot of high hopes for Mason. A lot of praise comes his way, and understandably so from everything I hear. But if he is given the job and it doesn't work out for him, it kind of could end his kind of aspirations to be a manager before they've even begun. It's a big ask, that. I mean, trying to think, when he took over from Mourinho, was it already April, wasn't it, I think? You know, and we're still here in mid-March, so it's a longer spell if they went with him. It really would be. Another alternative is, do they give Conte another game? Do they say, you know, essentially look to see if this was his way of trying to get reaction? Do Spurs go to Everton and show a reaction? Do they show that they're still fighting for him and his words do actually kind of are still getting through to them again? You know, if you want a bigger test as you could possibly get, I think in terms of matching fight for fight, Everton are the team right now. Everton are scrapping away for absolutely everything. And I think, again, if that is the case, we'll very quickly know whether this Spurs squad is still playing for Antonio Conte. It will be very evident very quickly. The other aspect, of course, is luring another manager away from a club. It feels like at this moment that's a tough ask. That is a difficult one, because I'd almost go as far as say near impossible, really, at this stage of a season. So that leaves you, if you're going to make a permanent change now, that leaves you with, you know, the freebies, the people available, the Mauricio Pochettino, Thomas Tuchel, Luis Enrique. I know some people keep throwing Marcelo Gallardo into the mix. I don't know about that. I don't know. I do think I would put him probably in the gamble territory. And, you know, I do wonder why have no other European club gone for him yet? Would Spurs want to be the first ones to try that? I don't know. I don't know. You know, I'm not saying that he hasn't done terrific things thus far, but I still think it's a gamble. I do. And I just wonder whether Spurs at this moment in time are not maybe looking for a gamble, or a gamble would worry them. But, like, I mean, even those other 3 I said, Luis Enrique would be a real glamour appointment. It would fit in with the kind of... you know, the how do I put it? The win now managers that Daniel Levy is like, oh, hello. It does, but for all of his very impressive stuff he did over 2 seasons at Barcelona, it's maybe the case for saying that what he's done outside his work in Spain, you know, could he be a very expensive gamble, Luis Enrique? And I would say also his passing style and what he would require would also require a big old overhaul of the squad, an expensive one. That might not be a bad thing at all, but that's a real throwing your eggs into a very different basket for someone that is unproven, I'd say, outside Spain. I mean, it was at Roma. Did he pull up trees at Roma? I don't really think he did. I think he did some good stuff at Celta Vigo, wasn't he? And Barcelona, you know, his time with the Spanish national team, it seems to be differing views on that. Obviously, it's a tough era to kind of follow coming in. So, yeah, that's Luis Enrique. Thomas Tuchel, he's the one with the Premier League experience over Luis Enrique. But, is it just let's appoint that boss that Chelsea sacked again? It's another one of those. And as I said before, there's some suggestions that, he would take some considering anyway to come and take it. And then, if he's listened to Conte's rant, his carefully picked words, it might have only strengthened Tuchel's concern about whether he could win anything at Tottenham as well. That leaves Pochettino out of that little group anyway. Look, I've got two very different sides to this in my head. If anything could bring together an absolutely disenchanted fan base and a squad lacking in belief, it could well be the very romantic notion of, Mauricio Pochettino riding back into town to finally attend to that unfinished business he once spoke of. It's a very romantic notion, and it's one that I think a lot of people would love to see bearing fruit and bringing, what he can bring with him. And, look, no one knows Tottenham Hotspur better than Mauricio Pochettino, I'd say. Those, 6.5 years, was it, at the club, 2014, 2019. Oh, wait a minute. I've lost my whole timeline. It's completely gone. That was the 2019, wasn't it? So, 5.5 years at the club. That's my mathematics for you. About just under 5.5 years. Look, no one knows him better. All the weird stuff about Spurs, the quirks, the secrets, the problems, the strengths, the weaknesses. He knows it all. He knows that club inside out. And I would say that having spent, 4 years away? Yeah, it is. Honestly, I'm struggling with my maths and years today. Having spent that amount of time away, was it November 2019? Here we are. 3.5 years away. He'll be more experienced, more knowledgeable. He's got some trophies on his CV, hasn't he? He's got a league title in France. Yes, I know people don't think that's the highest honour in the world. He's got a couple of cups on there as well. Look, spending 18 months at PSG, which it's a club that makes Spurs look sane. It really does. It's just a crazy, crazy club. I do think all of it will added to the experience that he has and how he would deal with Spurs a second time. I completely agree with people, though, that say, can you ever go back in football? Does it work? I think there are instances. I think you could say Mourinho, Zidane, Capello, Lippi, even Harry Redknapp went to Portsmouth a couple of times and did well. But there are obviously countless tales when managers have gone back and they haven't been able to replicate what they did the first time they were there. There's a big question mark, as I said before, as well, over whether the Spurs board would be united in wanting him back. There's a big question mark, perhaps, and the biggest question mark is whether Pochettino himself feels the time is right to come back to Tottenham. Because, that very cluttered new structure at Tottenham Hotspur, it bears very little resemblance to the one that he left at Spurs in 2009. It's very different. Fabio Paratici has brought in a lot of faces, a lot of names, whereas before there were like one or two people doing certain jobs, there's like loads now. Sometimes they crisscross over each other, and I saw Dean. There was a report or something that said that Dean Rastrick had left the academy manager. From what I understood yesterday, was the last time I checked, that wasn't the case. He was still part of the club, but there's so many kind of cooks in that kitchen, and even at that kind of the crossover between the academy and the first team, you've got Dean Rastrick, you've got Simon Davies, the chap they brought in, used to be at Man City, and with Vincent Kompany as well, and Andy Scolding's kind of around that area as well, brought in from Rangers, very highly rated chap as well, and obviously you've got Greta Steinerson, you've got Fabio Paratici, and then you've got Chief Scouts, is it Gabonini as well, and then you've got, pretty sure that Paratici also has a scout who's like his right-hand man that is mainly based in Italy, whose name's completely gone out of my head. they're all over the place. Obviously, that Jeff Vetera seems to have had to leave the club after his comments out while scouting as well. And there's just so many people involved. It's like, are there too many cooks in the kitchen? And that's not the Poch way. He doesn't like working in that kind of scenario. This is why I think he didn't like PSG as well, because there was so many voices all having their say. Whereas he, I guess the crux of why he was a success during that 3-year period in the middle of his tenure was that he was able to harness this really tight-knit family kind of atmosphere around the club. It's probably the happiest and most connected the whole club's been for decades. And I include the fans as well in that. But that's the one I'm saying. Is that the big question? Can he recreate that? And if he can't recreate that, does he become a good choice or not? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. The international break does, of course, always give you that little bit of time for managerial changes if they are to be made.